radio personalities, including David Horowitz, and the author of such works as Hating Whitey and Other Progressive Causes, and Larry Elder, who wrote 10 Things You Can't Say in America. And while these books lacked in substance, they made up for it in visceral appeal. And then he read Rush Limbaugh's The Way Things Ought to Be. It was a page-turning thriller to me. Every page was like a new revelation. Ugh. So, I mean, you're welcome to continue on the show if you can stand it anymore, because I totally understand if hearing about this man makes you just want to vomit. And the good thing is, though, it's easier to hate a man once you know what trash things he's doing to immigrants and how much of a genuinely repulsive person he is. So, I mean, now that you have that in your back, you have me to thank for hating Stephen Miller. You're welcome. All right, yeah, you are welcome for that one. So, anyway, yeah. We now turn our attention from one conservative, quote-unquote, thinker to another, and that is Dinesh D'Souza, because yesterday he was pardoned by President Trump. You may have heard of him. He's a conservative filmmaker, and there's also a very good chance you may not have heard of him. This is right now for me a perfect opportunity to play for you a little bit, just a little bit, of the Clinton Cash trailer, which is a Dinesh D'Souza joint. And this is going to be quite fun. So it's Peter Schweizer, and it's Clinton Cash was the book, and there's also a graphic novel. Oh wait, was it? Oh, because it looks like Peter Schweizer did it, and maybe it wasn't what. And I'm wow. Okay, so Dinesh. Oh, it's Clinton's America. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Hillary's America trailer. So this is what it is. So Dinesh D'Souza, and I'm gonna play this for a little bit, and I'm gonna give you just a peek, just a little peek. It's gonna pique your interest about Dinesh D'Souza's work. This is what he does, and this is how much of a genius that he is. So we're gonna go to him in just a minute. So this is Dinesh D'Souza theatrical trailer. So here it is. It should be fun.
The Democrats are the party of economic opportunity.
This is him.
Social justice. And racial equality. That's their pitch. But is it true?
Whoa. The most important movie you'll see
Democrats?
before you vote.
It really goes back to this idea of social engineering and social control. In America, we called it progressivism. Soviet Union, they called it communism.
What?
The whole purpose of the Democratic Party was to reestablish white supremacy.
The Democrats support slavery.
Wow.
While we, Republicans, oppose slavery.
To the Democratic Party.
This Civil Rights Act will allow colored men to sit at the same table beside the white guests.
The racism continued well into the 20th century.
We gotta give them a little something, but not enough to make a difference.
Sometimes the violence intensified, other times the racism merely changed forms. Almost everything they did had a racist motive.
The party of corruption.
While Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, the Clintons took hundreds of millions of dollars from foreign entities.
She looked very menacing. I was really frightened.
Emails. All right, yeah, that's enough for me. It's breaking my ears at this point with this overdramatic music. Anyway, all right, yeah. So you pretty much get the idea. He's like one of those guys who's like, the Democratic Party did slavery. Even though anyone who's spent like more than half a year following politics knows that it was a Southern strategy that, again, switched over and now the position. And here's the funny thing: he can't really say the Democrats did slavery to the people that he's trying to market this film to, because they're going to be like, "What? Really? I thought they did slavery. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Hold on a minute. I like that. Well, let's go to one of those Democrats. Yeah, so yeah, Trump took to Twitter Thursday to unveil his intent to pardon D'Souza, though, who pleaded guilty to a felony in 2014 over his use of straw donors to make legal contributions in a 2012 Senate race. Trump lamented that the filmmaker was treated very unfair by our government. Trump's pardons are being closely watched because of the special counsel investigation into Robert Mueller by Robert Mueller into anyone from the Trump campaign who's aided Russia to interfere with the election. So it's going to be a pretty big deal to see who he will pardon. And they also came after Trump got a very special visit from Kim Kardashian, who lobbied for a pardon of 62-year-old great-grandmother serving out a life sentence without parole for a nonviolent drug offense. So that's actually pretty cool. I do like what he did there. So it is pretty nice. Now we turn our attention to Dinesh. And by the way, look up Dinesh D'Souza racist tweets, and there's a lot that comes up. Just saying. Anyway, we turn our attention now to Samantha Bee. Samantha Bee, she is in the news because of the Roseanne situation. Conservatives, they wanted someone to fire back on. They originally started with Bill Maher. We talked about that a few days ago in the show, and progressives were like, no, not Bill Maher. We'd be so sad. Wink. And just liberals in general, really. They're like, oh, you can't have him. So now Samantha Bee just goes, here, and then just like pretty much plops right in their lap and is like, okay, that's fine. We will do that. That's going to be great. So Samantha Bee's monologue on her show Wednesday night involved excoriating the Trump administration's goal of separating every child from their parents if they commit a moral sin of trying to cross the border. She also referred to Ivanka Trump as a C word. That's a C-U-N-T. Naturally, everyone from the White House was focused, litigating how bad the second thing was, until Bee and her network TBS apologized for them for the remark Tuesday afternoon, and the clip was pulled from YouTube. Samantha Bee tweeted out on 2:16 p.m. yesterday, I would like to sincerely apologize to Ivanka Trump and to my viewers for using an expletive on my show to describe her last night, and it was inappropriate and inexcusable. I crossed the line and I regret it. Brian Stelter, who's the CNN media reporter, says, this just in from TBS, which is her network, Samantha Bee has taken the right action, apologizing for the violent and inappropriate language she used about Ivanka Trump last night. These words should have not been aired. It was our mistake too, and we regret it. So, yeah, I mean, we could have really seen this entire outrage cycle coming. Anytime the pundit and the Beltway journalists have the chance to virtue signal in an effort to look objective by going after a liberal, they seize on it by overcorrecting and turning themselves into incorrigible scolds. I'm not going to spend time on whether weighing in on whether B should have used that word. It doesn't bother me personally. And I got to be honest here, it just doesn't seem to be, it may seem like it's a good thing to use, and I personally have no problem with it, just like most people do, because of what the motive was behind it. If it was like for racist, if it was means to a racist end, like Roseanne Barr's was, it would have been a much bigger deal to me. But if it was something actually genuinely mad about like people breaking up families, immigrant families, I totally get why she would be so angry, and it makes it to me a little bit easier to defend. And also, I mean, I think a lot of people in the Beltway, it gets very caught up, because a lot of people in the Beltway, we can't be profane. I was like, welcome to the real world. No one cares if you're profane. They just care if they get their paycheck, and they care if their wages rising, and they care if they get health care. I mean, just all the stuff that people actually like live on and care about. Like, so it's not that hard. Yeah, I mean, the bit felt really extremely calibrated for maximum shock value and an otherwise strong monologue about Trump's atrocious immigration policies, but that's not really the point. I mean, the scolds here, they won the posturing war, and that's the problem with it. CNN's Chris Cillizza, the terrible analysis machine, we'll get to him in a minute, staked his claim on this matter early. Bullying and name-calling is never right, and while they do it, doesn't justify it. Yeah. And someone should tell Chris Cillizza about his personal compilation of his favorite bullying Donald Trump nicknames, and this is a comprehensive. It's a comprehensive ranking of all Trump's political nicknames. He's the Michael Jordan of name calling, and let's rank his name calling. But let's not forget, bullying and name calling is never right. Yeah, but lucky for us, he wasn't quite done. Pulling a sanctimonious quote retweet routine on Kathy Griffin, who knows a thing or two about manufactured outrage about the Trumps. And now that leads us into our whole Chris Cillizza bit. But before we move on to that, and just the general response to this, and how the posters won the war here, I do want to say one quick thing about this whole thing with Samantha Bee. It was okay, and it was fighting for something that was justified, and I do not mind outrage like that. Like, calling Ivanka Trump the C word, it was a little bit problematic. I'm not gonna mind it. I'm not gonna deny it. I mean, I get how it could have been. It could have been considered as something that was a little bit too far. But personally, I see it as a way for people to express justified outrage. I do not mind if they get a little bit explicit, because, I mean, Ivanka Trump and her daddy can get all outraged about it, and then invite someone who used the C word in one of his songs very easily to the White House, and all these awful people and all these awful things that he's attacked endlessly in despicable ways and not apologized for. I don't think, we can really get too outraged about it at all whatsoever. Yeah. So CNN's Poppy Harlow and Oliver Darcy blasted Sam B for incredibly offensive remark on CNN. It was really disgusting. So, yeah. So Kathy Griffin said, who cares, whatever, about this whole thing. And then Chris Cillizza quote tweets her and goes, "This isn't about whether Sam B can say it. It's about whether she should say it. And whether we are in a society, and whether we as a society should condone it." And that led to this tweet: "You are so effing dense and embarrassing. Go look at Sarah Sanders' statement." So it's like, no. Yeah, so then we get to the whole thing about Oliver Darcy. And there's simply no winning the game if you opt to play. What you thought, what you, a thought leader who doesn't like mean words, consider a goodwill effort to maintain civility, will absolutely be always weaponized by the worst action. They won't do a damn right, and they won't do a damn thing about it. There's only outrage for anyone on the right who does, Donald Trump Jr. said on the situation. Janine Pirro says, "Samantha, you can't hold a candle to Ivanka. Your irreverence, if aimed at a Democratic president, would have gotten you fired." Well, are Democratic presidents breaking up children from their families? I don't think so. Yeah. And then Brent Bozell of the Media Research Center says, "Can you imagine if I Am Sam B made the same jokes about Chelsea Clinton or Obama daughters? Zero chance CBS Network would have allowed her disgusting show to continue." Doubt it. And after all of this, no, we're far from done. No one has won, and no one has been converted. The entire answer will be read by most of the country as another media blip about nothing material to their lives. Exactly. This is very true here. And we need to move on from this because it just does not matter. She said a bad word about something very important. That's a big problem in this country. Like, who cares? Like, calling people an ape in a racist manner is a little bit different than just saying a mean swear word about someone. I'm sorry. The large cross-section of Americans who hate the media will undoubtedly continue to do so despite the punditry's best efforts of defending Ivanka Trump's honor. In a week dominated by news of Roseanne Barr finally losing her ill-conceived comeback show over a spate of racist tweets, conservatives were desperate for retribution. They got their